Hello everybody and welcome to this MSc in Flood Risk Management program. Just double checking attendees. We have some people attending, excellent. I'll do a quick round of introductions, and what we're going to be talking about is this MSc in Flood Risk Management. It's a very unique and interesting program offered at PGT level, master's level at the University of Hull in the Energy and Environment Institute. To start us off, my name is Dr. Stephen Forrest. I'm a lecturer in flood resilience and sustainable transformations, and I am the program director for the MSc in Flood Risk Management. We also have Alex and Mia, and I'll pass over to them, to Alex first to introduce themselves. Alex.
Hello, I'm Dr. Alex Osborne, and I'm a Knowledge Exchange Fellow in Floods and SUDS here at the university, and I look at mainly SUDS, as the name suggests.
Thank you, Alex. And we also have Mia joining us today.
Hi, I'm Mia, and I'm a current student on the Masters in Flood Risk Management.
Excellent. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Mia, for joining us today. What we're going to be doing today is going through the program, and we have some slides for you. And then we're going to open it up for questions and to give you some live answers to your questions. You might be able to see on your panel, on the webinar panel, that you can see an area where you can put questions in. Please, throughout the webinar, do put your questions in, whatever they may be about this MSc, about studying at the University of Hull, also about the content or whatever else might be on your mind. What we'll do is we'll gather all of these questions, and at the end we'll then go through them and provide you with some answers, hopefully. So to begin with, this is an MSc in Flood Risk Management. It's a unique opportunity to shape the future of flood management. And if we go to the next, yeah. And what we'll do is talk about why flood management is important, have a bit of an idea on the student experience and employer views, but we have a nice video for that. We're going to go through what we would actually teach. What do we cover in this MSc? It is a flexible and inclusive course, and we'll be telling you a few of the options that you can pursue, whether it's doing it as a one-year full-time course or doing it part-time, which can be done from 2 to 4 years. And then we have the summary with Q&A. Flooding, as you might be aware, is a global issue. It is something that is an urgent societal problem. It's something that's predicted to get worse as well due to increases in the intensity and frequency of extreme rainfall events, sea level rise, but also inappropriate development of our cities, of our urban spaces. As you can see from this image, you can already see a lot of different places and locations, whether it's in York, in Hull itself, the Netherlands, and recent floods in New York City, the USA, in Brazil, and also in China and India. There's a lot of different flood events happening right now, and it's on the top of a lot of people's agenda. And as I said, it is an increasing risk. Not only have we seen a lot of flooding recently with storms Barbet, Kieran, Debbie, affecting the south coast of the UK, but also in areas such as Lincolnshire and also around Yorkshire. We've seen it affect areas such as Denmark, north of France, and this is something that we expect to get worse in the future. Therefore, it is something really important we need to interrogate, we need to focus on, and we need a new generation of flood risk managers. And this isn't just important from an impacts point of view, it's also the trend in global policies. As we can see on this slide, we have the UN Office for Disaster Reduction. We have frameworks such as the Sendai Framework for Disaster Reduction. We have the Paris Agreement from 2016, and also the Sustainable Development Goals, 17 goals to transform our world. These are all global commitments which have, which place an emphasis on reducing disaster risk, especially from flooding, and trying to build sustainable, happy and healthy cities. But to summarize, why should you study flood risk management? Well, on the right of the screen, you can see a few Environment Agency predictions. So the EA in England predicts that sea levels will rise by 0.35 meters by 2060. 5.2 million homes are at risk of flooding in England. And of the 5.2 million people or homes, less than 10% think that they are at risk of flooding, which is a huge problem. How do we help people become more flood resilient when many people don't realize they're at flood risk? In a global context, we're going to see flood risk doubling by 2050. So we need to think about not only at a global level, but the UK level and the local level. How do we enable society to be more flood resilient in the face of these growing risks? And to do that, we need to develop and deliver new approaches to flood risk management. We need creativity, we need innovation, we need to combine the technical solutions with the social science approaches, with the modelling approaches, with the arts and humanities perspectives. Now, to do this degree, to do an MSc in Flood Risk Management, we do have entry requirements of a 2-1 classification, but we're really focused on your interest and your passion in the topic. In terms of subject, we haven't set a specific set of subjects that we accept. We're very broad and holistic in our approach. We've had people from human geography, physical geography, but also from business, from engineering, from physics, law, and history. We take a wide range of backgrounds to this MSc, and that's one of the selling points and the unique perspectives that we can offer, in that we bring these diverse voices, not only from the UK, but from international perspectives as well, all into the same course. And as we look into the future, and as we try and manage flood risk with innovative, creative approaches, we need to consider, are we going down a path where we try to erect barriers to keep flood water out, to divide land and water and keep that artificial separation? Or are we trying to take a more holistic perspective where we recognize that some areas will flood more in the future, and we need to think about a holistic catchment-based approach that takes into account the upstream as well as the downstream, that takes into account natural flood defenses and retention ponds and slowing the flow? That can then mean that we take a catchment-based approach to reduce flood risk, but also enable us to reduce the flood consequences. And this all centers around this idea of living with water. So we don't only need the natural perspectives, the technical, but also the societal engagement to build flood resilience to future flood events. And this is in a lot of policy documents. I've got this one here from the Environment Agency's draft policy on national flood and coastal erosion risk management for England. And they want to have a nation ready for and resilient to flooding and coastal change today, tomorrow, and to the year 2100. This goes to show that there is a commitment from policymakers, from the Environment Agency, also from DEFRA at the UK levels, but also internationally, that they recognise this as a problem and they're dedicating resources and support in order to solve it. And where better a place to solve it than Hull? Now, Hull is the place for flood studies. Outside of London, in a UK context, the Humber is the region presenting the greatest flood risks to the UK economy. It's the second most flood risk place in the UK. It's also globally known for its expertise. For example, its participation as one of only 5 cities in the first wave of the Global City Water Resilience Framework, which was developed by Arab and supported by the Rockefeller Foundation. Hull is one city which has connections to Cape Town, to Miami, to other cities globally, where we try and learn and exchange ideas on how best to manage flood risk. And as part of this, not only recognizing we're at high flood risk, we also have a lot of investment and ongoing live projects here. So you can also see Hull as a living lab for flood risk management. We have the traditional engineering approach of the whole tidal surge barrier, but we also have newer investments, such as £42 million in the Hull frontage scheme. We have floodgates, property level protection measures that are both keeping the water out, but also dealing with the water when it enters a property. And we also have a lot of investment and expertise in sustainable urban drainage systems, with the campus hosting a large number of such measures where we're doing a lot of innovative research in recording the movement of water and trying to understand how we can best live with water in our urban spaces. Now, we're going to play a short video here, which shows a bit more about the student experience and employers' views on flood risk management in Hull and the Humber region.
Here in Hull, there's a lot of research on natural systems and challenges such as climate change and flood risk. And I'm excited to contribute to these studies. But the benefits of studying in Hull is definitely that there are a lot of applied and fundamental projects related to issues such as flood risk and climate change. And this results in a lot of knowledge from different perspectives.
I get involved in flood risk projects and environmental projects all over the world. But it's great to talk a little bit about the MSc in Flood Risk Management at Hull. Hull is just one of the best places that you could come to study about flood risk management. All different aspects of flood risk that you could encounter around the world are here in Hull.
Flooding is the most recorded natural disaster on this planet. In the last 2 decades alone, 2 billion people, a third of the population of this globe, has been impacted in one way or another by a large-scale flood event. The opportunities in this sphere of the world right now are endless. It's the place to be, and it's the place to be for me because you can impact the lives of generations now and in the future.
I think it's really important to study natural flood management because it's something that's only going to get worse in the future. So it's important that we learn to be able to live with flooding and sort of manage floods, but also be able to mitigate, to be able to reduce the negative impacts like loss of life and destruction of infrastructure.
I was a partner in the development of the world-leading city water resilience approach with the Rockefeller Foundation, the Resilience Shift, World Bank and Arab, and Hull is a global pilot city for that initiative.
At Hull we have a whole host of experience from both academic and industry partners, as well as access to high-resolution survey-grade equipment such as drones, the terrestrial laser scanner, as well as the total environment simulator.
Being within the Energy and Environment Institute has also been really great, being constantly surrounded by so many postgraduate researchers and lecturers with such a broad knowledge base and a wide variety of fields. I look forward to completing my PhD and to having a career within the research industry and helping towards a more sustainable future.
Every place experiences flood risk in different ways, so flood risk management opportunities across the UK vary from place to place. That being said, there are common areas of opportunity within risk management authorities and across the wider sector.
As a company, Arab, we recruit a large number of graduates each year, and we're always looking for good people who know their subject, who are good team workers, but also people who are able to understand the community, politicians, stakeholders, and to translate those aspirations into technical solutions.
Hello again, and I hope you enjoyed that short video, which captured a lot of the partners that we work with, a lot of practitioners who really value the knowledge in flood risk management that's really needed for the future. So a lot of them were involved in the development and design of the course, and they come in to support workshops, to support field trips, and help us in bridging the theory and the practice. That's the key thing on this master's course. It's got the academic foundations, but it also has the practical experiences, and it tries to bring the two together so that you can go out into the world as highly qualified flood risk managers. Now, we saw some practitioners, we heard from some PhD researchers, but the question is, who will be teaching you? And you can see the slide already, so it's kind of giving the game away a little bit. But we have a very diverse teaching team, which draws from expertise across several different disciplines. We have teaching contributions from Dr. Stuart McClelland, who's the Director of Teaching at the Institute, and he specializes in physical modeling of river, estuarine, and coastal flow processes. And there's a lot of work on natural flood management in the Hull area, but also in areas such as Pickering, where he works on leaky dams and slowing the flow. Myself, I'm a lecturer in flood resilience and sustainable transformations. I really specialize in flood resilience and trying to understand it from a social sciences perspective, how the world works, how we engage with communities, how we govern flood risk management, and then how we also connect this to policy. We also have Dr. Rob Thomas, who's a lecturer in geomorphology and flood risk, and he really specializes in understanding the more hydraulic processes and understanding how water moves across the environment and the landscapes we live within. We have Professor Tom Coulthard, who is Professor of Physical Geography, and he specializes more in environmental modeling, and he was also the chair of the independent review into the whole floods in 2007. So he really uses his expertise to influence policy here in the city of Hull. We also have Dr. Kate Smith, who's a lecturer in flood risk management, who focuses more on the socio-hydrology of customs, landscapes, and watery places, focusing also on flood risk warnings. And Dr. Alex Osborne, who you met earlier, who's a knowledge exchange fellow in floods and SUDS. He specializes in sustainable drainage and surface water flooding and works on a lot of the SUDS-based approaches that you can see here at the University of Hull. Next slide. On this course, from all these different perspectives, you will become, or you will get the opportunity to become a world leader in research and innovation of flood risk management to protect the current and the future generations. As I mentioned, there's a lot of different disciplines, physical sciences, social sciences, arts and humanities, in order to cover and do justice to elements such as nature-based solutions, community engagement, and flood modeling. Now, we don't expect you to be an expert in each of these. In fact, what we normally find is that students excel in one of these areas where they have a really strong interest, and there are some modules that they maybe don't have the same level of skills in. And over the MSc, you might find it as a challenge. And over time, you really see a development in your skills. So in this sense, you're building up multiple different types of skills so that you'll be a very well-rounded individual after the MSc in Flood Risk Management, and you have the skills and capabilities to help society prepare, respond, and adapt to flooding. Next slide. Now, this is how our MSc Flood Risk Management looks for a one-year full-time program. We have a trimester 1, 2, and 3. Trimester 1 is typically from October to December, trimester 2 from February until May, and trimester 3 from June to September. It's a one-year program. The first 2 trimesters focus on teaching, and each of these are worth 60 credits in total. So 60 credits for term 1, trimester 1, 60 for trimester 2, and then we have trimester 3, which focuses on your own independent research. This is really an opportunity for you to follow or to identify an area of flood risk management that you're really passionate about. What are you excited about? What do you want to find out more about? What do you want to find more out about? And then you can do that within this dissertation element. Next slide. I'll go through these in a bit more detail now. So module 1 would be water and the environment, and you're looking at the hydrological and hydraulic processes that control how water moves through the landscape. You'll understand flow paths that the water follows to manage flood risks, and you'll also gain practical skills such as working on SUDS, taking outdoor measurements to help you in decision making, but also looking at using flumes and wet labs. Next slide. We also have a module 2, which is on flood impacts, living with floods. And in this one, you're really understanding the flood hazards and recognizing that there's not just one type of flood hazard. You have rivers, you have coasts, groundwater flooding, sewer flooding, reservoir flooding, and you're understanding that each of these will change over time due to climate change and also in terms of how we build our cities. So you're trying to understand the differences there from the hazard type to the management approach that you'll need to take in order to become flood resilient. And as part of this, there's also elements of sustainable drainage systems and other strategies to reduce flood risk. You can see in the picture, for example, water retention spaces, and there's also aqua greens and flood alleviation schemes. As part of the course, you'll go out there and talk to experts, and you'll visit these schemes so that you can see them in person and also ask questions about how we do this in practice, the opportunities and also the challenges. Next slide. The third module is flood resilience, living with water. This is really understanding flood resilience from a social sciences perspective and recognizing that floods cannot be prevented. We cannot prevent floods, and we're shifting from if there will be a flood to thinking when will the next flood be? Because when we do that, we can recognize that we have a lot of agency, we have a lot of ability to try and reduce the consequences of flooding. And this is in the context of floods getting worse. And us having these technical solutions, building a wall is really nice, but that's not a long-term sustainable solution. We can't keep separating water and land. We cannot build an enormous umbrella over our city and hope that we'll be okay. We need to think about living with water and how we integrate it into flood risk management to be fit for the present, but also for future flood risk challenges. The next slide we see module 4, modeling flood events. Now, numerical models are essential tools in flood risk management. You're able to model innovative solutions to flood risk and predict flood events, as you can see here. This module ensures that students are able to understand how to use and to interpret numerical models. Now, please don't worry. You don't need to already have a modeling background in order to excel in this module. We take people at the basis of them not having modeling experience, and then we help you to develop your own skills in this area. You might already have modeling experience, and we'll tailor it to your specific requirements so you can do more advanced work. But I just want to say here, your previous experience of modeling won't hold you back in this module. It's very open and inclusive, and it's a very important skill to learn about. We'll go to the next slide. I also want to remind you that if you do have any questions about this master's, about anything I'm saying, about living in Hull, doing this module or this program, then please do write down your questions in the Q&A chat box, and then we'll come to them at the end. So we're going into module 5. This is what you'll do after Christmas in trimester 2. We start off with flood adaptation and mitigation, and we have the module on how to manage flood risk, looking at the concrete walls, the engineering solutions, the opportunities, but also the challenges with them, and then also the natural flood management techniques. As you can see in this image, flood resilience, flood risk management doesn't just begin where the water lands, where the water builds up. It's also the journey between those 2 points. It's trying to slow that water movement. So all that rainfall, all that flood risk doesn't happen at the same time. It's delayed. We're reducing the peak of the incident. And in this module, you'll be able to see how flood risk can be affected by slowing the flow, building walls to hold back the water, but also understanding it from a social perspective in terms of flood warnings, flood insurance, and not only from a UK perspective, but also from an international perspective. And we have guest lecturers, not only from practice, but from other countries who will share their thoughts on how we can manage flooding. And in this way, you'll be able to not only learn from the UK examples, but also from what's being done as best practice internationally. Next slide, please. And the last module which is taught is module 6, managing flood incidents. And this is really looking at the hot phase of a flood incident. It's trying to understand how we can have an effective flood response to reduce the impacts of a flood. So when there is a flood event, what do we need to do? How can we respond to the flood event and then not only respond, but recover and recover successfully? Because we're shifting to this idea of not if there will be a flood event, but when the next flood event will be. So recovery is really important to try and reduce flood risk for the future when we bounce back, when we rebuild our cities, rebuild our homes, but also think, how can we make this recovery benefit society? How can we get these additional wins for the environment and for people? This module, has a lot of external practitioners sharing their views. We also do a field trip to Humberside Fire and Rescue Service, where they show some of their equipment for managing flooding, including their pumps and fire engines and their drones. We hear about the 2007 and 2013 floods so that we can see what went well, But more importantly, what didn't go well, what went wrong, and what did they learn from those flood events so that they will be better prepared in the future. So in this sense, we bring practitioners from the Environment Agency, their incident team response leader, from the insurance industry, from consultancies, and also from Fire and Rescue Service to come in to share their views. Next slide, please. And then the final one, this is in trimester 3. This is the independent research project. And this is where you have the opportunity to focus on an area or a topic of interest to you. And then you'll be able to work with an academic and in some cases a practitioner in order to explore this issue in more depth, to design your own research questions, to come up with questions you want to answer and you think are needed to be answered, and then to go out and collect data on it, and then to interpret this data, to then understand it better and draw conclusions that can hopefully act as the foundations for future research, but also support practice and policymakers with recommendations for flood risk management. Now, this is a unique opportunity for you to develop a deeper understanding of flood risk management, also to build links with future employers. Next slide, please. How will you learn? So I've told you what's going to be covered, but the mode of teaching delivery is very varied and we try and make it as inclusive as possible. Teaching will be a mixture of lectures, workshops, and seminars. We don't rely on just a lecture where we stand up at the front and we just give you information for 2 hours. We try and make it as interactive as possible. We give you exercise and activities so we can tell you about the theory and some practical examples, but then set you activities where you can then apply this learning, while you, working with other students, can try and think of what would you do in this situation? How would you respond to this governance challenge? How would you position the city so it's more flood resilient for the future? We also have field work, field trips in most modules to learn from flood resilience in action. For example, Humberside Fire and Rescue Service, the flood alleviation schemes and the frontage schemes in Hull, but also guest lectures from these international experts and sector professionals that really help you to gain a very detailed understanding of flood risk management, and also to be inspired to come up with your own creative and innovative approaches to the future. And with the practical teaching, it's also about learning hands-on skills that you can apply, both technical and more softer and spatial and social skills that can be beneficial. We also have tutorials to support you individually and in small groups so that you'll understand more about the academic approaches, but also have the space to talk about your future career ambitions, which we can help support. Next slide. And as I said, we can have flexible and inclusive study options where you can study individual modules part-time for 2, 3, or 4 years. Overall, in this MSc, there are no exams. We do not believe that you should be simply regurgitating information in an exam format. We want to see you with hands-on activities where you go and collect data, where you do your own research and you present it in various different formats: posters, lab reports, fieldwork reports, group policy reports, presentations, serious board games, in-depth comparative analyses, models, GIS maps. These are just some of the hands-on practical skills that you can then demonstrate that can help you in the future with your employability as you go into the next step of your career. Next slide, please. So if you're studying, I showed you already, for 1 year full-time. If you're doing 2 years part-time, this is how your courses would be split. You would have 2 modules in the first year, in term 1, and then 2 in the second term. In your third year, you would do 1 module per term, and then you'd be focusing on your dissertation project. Now, in reality, you're more than welcome to start your dissertation project in trimester 3 of the first year. We will discuss it with you and come up with something that will fit around your existing commitments and be most beneficial for you to ensure we take a real inclusive and tailored approach to this. Next slide. And we do 3 years, but also 4 years, where you would do 1 module each trimester into year 1, 2, and 3. and then you'll have an entire year to focus on your dissertation project. In this way, you'll be able to fit your studying alongside any part-time jobs or full-time jobs you might have in this sector. In the past, we've had people working for the East Riding of Yorkshire Council, the Humberside Fire and Rescue Service, and also Yorkshire Water, and working in these organisations whilst pursuing a part-time MSc here at the University of Hull in Flood Risk Management. Next slide. And in terms of career prospects, now the course has only been going for 3 years. However, we've had a lot of success in students finding onwards employment. On this slide, you can see a few of the different companies and organisations they've worked for. They've gone into flood modelling, being a flood risk analyst, civil engineering teams, becoming a graduate flood risk engineering modelling, but also in development planning and permitting and floods, policy work, flood modelling, and some students have gone on to do PhD positions. One's become an assistant professor, and another is working in a lead local flood authority, as well as working for the Environment Agency as a public body, and also consultancies such as Tetra Tech, Allen Wood and Partners, and JBA Consulting. Next slide, please. To summarize, people with flood risk management skills are needed now by employers. Flooding is an urgent societal problem that's not going away. We need creative, innovative approaches. We need new flood risk managers in order to take us to the next level of flood resilience building. This course gives you the skills that will help shape the future of flood risk management. And all the staff are really passionate about building flood resilience. We're passionate about our topic. We don't just come to teach on this, we actively in our day-to-day lives do research on this, and we're trying to advance this field. And a key thing is that we bring our research into our lectures. So you're hearing about research-led projects and you're experiencing research-led teaching. So if you have any other questions, the email address is there. This is the end of the presentation element, and we're going to invite Alex and Mia back with their webcams and open it up to questions, which will be moderated by Alex.
Thank you very much. So we have a question here about, are there any plans to get this course accredited with either SciWEM or the Institution of Civil Engineers?
I think that's a question for me. In that sense, yes, we are currently working with SciWEM to get this course accredited, and we hope to get that in early 2024. Now, the large amount of paperwork, which we're working our way through, and we've already in principle arranged a visit from their team. So hopefully we will be accredited this year. Now, accreditation comes with student membership to SciWEM. It also comes with some benefits of being able to engage more with their networks. We're working at the moment with SciWEM on a few projects, also in terms of trying to connect students to their annual Flood and Coast Conference to achieve the benefits of SciWEM membership. So in that sense, we're already getting some of the benefits, but we're trying to get more benefits by becoming accredited in early 2024.
Excellent. Another question is, what are the What are the assessment methods? Still can't speak. What are the assessment methods used during the course?
So the assessment methods really vary, and we try and take a wide range of assessment options into account in order to allow people to develop their skills, learn new skills, but also put what they learn into practice. So as I said, we have lab reports where I can ask Mia in a moment to talk about some of her assessments and lab reports. We have posters, presentations, group work, presentations, policy reports, assessments, serious board game assessments, and also work looking at modelling and GIS. Mia, maybe you also have something you'd like to add in terms of the assessments you've seen this term.
Yeah, so there's all the ones that you've mentioned, but I think it's just the amount of practice that you get with certain skills as well. So like with presentations, we have a lot of formative assignments which are like not assessed to help build our skills for the like summative assignments which are assessed, and I just think it's really good. Yeah. I think everybody's gotten a lot more confident already, and we've only been on the course for like 2 months, and it's been really good.
Excellent, thank you. Another question is there any advantage to submitting my application early?
The short answer is yes, because then we can consider it earlier and we can offer you a place earlier if you meet our requirements. If we reach a position where we have too many applicants, we will restrict numbers, because we don't want to lose the close-knit community that we have on the flood risk management course, such as this year, where we have about 14 students. And in this way, we can really support students in a more personal way, and the students hopefully get to know each other a bit better as well throughout the course. So it is advantageous to apply earlier than later.
Excellent, we've just got 2 more questions. We have does the university provide support for the needs of students from different backgrounds?
Yes, we try and consider ourselves as a very inclusive university, and we have different nationalities represented, different countries, different types of learner as well. And in this way, we try and have these personal supervision meetings to support students, but also to tailor the support that we offer. We really want to see you reach your potential, and if we can make it easier for you to do that, then we will try our best to. Maybe it's also nice, Mia, you have any reflections on that, but maybe a question which would be nice for you to answer is, what made you choose the course, and perhaps what are you trying to get out of it or hoping to get out of it?
Well, I chose the course. I actually went to the University of Hull for my bachelor's degree, and I went to one of the sessions on campus, which is like a climate cafe, which Stephen runs, and we just got talking about it because that was what the climate cafe was about. And I'm quite interested in water in general. I used to do marine biology, so I thought that this would be like a really good fit to kind of move into a different sort of you know, like more experience in a different field. But yeah, and then what I like about the course especially is the mix between international and home students. I think that's really good, because a lot of the people that are from international countries have different experiences in like different fields, especially like engineering. So it's really cool to hear how different like floods are managed in our different countries. Yeah.
Excellent. So the final question is, how can I arrange a campus visit in person or virtually? Or can I arrange a campus visit virtually or in person?
Yes, the answer is yes. You can look on the website, and we'll share this with all attendees, information in terms of how you can come visit us. You can come, and you can also email us, and we can set up a meeting with you if you'd like, or a call. But you're more than welcome to come to one of our many open days where you'll be able to hear a bit more about the course, but also the facilities on offer at the University of Hull campus.
I think that's all the questions we have at the moment. If there's any other questions, just write them in the chat.
Excellent, and you're more than welcome. Thank you for the questions. And if you have any, yeah, you can see the link has just been posted there very helpfully by Amy, where you can then visit the website and find out about open days and book an open day to come and say hi. I think I don't see any more questions coming in. You can always email us at eei@hull.ac.uk, and we'll endeavour to reply as quickly as we can. And I'd just like to say thank you to Alex, to Mia, thanks to Amy and Amber, and to everyone watching. I hope you've been informed, and if you have any other questions, do let us know. But if not, I look forward to welcoming you on this course in September. Thank you.